between the two different. Without agreement about policies, but understanding within and between the two groups was so satisfying that it spawned a movement that turned into this organization, Braver Angels, which now runs depolarization workshops nationwide with chapters in every state. So I came to it after the last election, when a friend of mine who knew that I was doing communication coaching alerted me to the existence of Braver Angels. And I found a really great overlap between things that I was already helping people do and this work, basically one-to-one direct application. This is just a great way to contribute to the political discussion, which was something that I was wanting to be able to contribute to. So that's me. Some of you, whoever might have been here last week, would have seen Mary Ann, who ran a workshop called Depolarizing Within. Basically saying start within and then we can move outward. We'll touch on a little bit of what happened last week for those of you who haven't been there very quickly, a couple of slides just to get you back up to speed with that. Was anyone here in this group last week? Okay, great. So it'll be a review for you and the rest, it'll be a quick refresher. I live in Winnetka. As I said, came to this work through a friend who alerted me to this wonderful company. So today what we're doing, we're learning skills. And the skills entail understanding values and concerns of the other. And that they're really centered around listening. The idea being that when we can meet the person that we disagree with, and listen to what they have to say, acknowledge back to them what we've heard them say, get clarity about whether they're ready to hear from us, and then offer our perspective to them in that context, we have much better interactions. So I'm just going to guide you through those very simple skills. This is our agenda. We'll say a couple of ground rules. I'm not worried about these ground rules with this group at all.
Why not?
Why not? Probably because I'm from the community and I know it's a bunch of guys already, and but we'll get them out of the way. And then introductions may not be as necessary in this group because it's a group of people who already know each other, but we'll do it anyway. And then we'll talk about polarization a little bit within, and then get to the skills. Ground rules are simple. In this particular workshop, we're not going to debate policies. We're just going to learn these skills. We're going to use some prompts that have been already created just to give a neutral discussion point so that we can apply the skills rather than to argue about what's right and wrong in this context. But we'll give you the skills to do that outside of here. And then we're not competing about how well we learn these things. So here's the key expectations to abandon. If we really are looking for depolarization, then that's what this workshop is really focused on. Welcome.
Hi.
Have a seat right up front. Our purpose here is depolarization, which is distinct from agreement. These are skills for disagreeing better. In a democracy, in a pluralistic society where lots of people come from different backgrounds and have different points of view, we want disagreement because that means people are speaking honestly about what's really true for them from their differing perspectives. And then if we can discuss those different perspectives in a constructive way, then we can come up with policies that work for everybody. Polarization, as opposed to disagreement, is when we can no longer speak to and hear each other. Things become so fraught that we'd rather run in the opposite direction and not be in contact with the people that we disagree with. When polarization happens, it is an accelerating process. As soon as we stop discussing things with each other and think that we cannot hear or speak to each other, we move into different camps. Those camps have no contact with one another. And then we can tell ourselves and our friends stories about those people that may or may not square with reality. And then the more we do that, especially if we're telling ourselves scary things about the other group, we become more reticent to be in contact, and we get further and further away. That can just pick up speed. So I'm grateful that you're here, because this is the group of people who now are focused on reversing that process. So expectations to abandon are very important in depolarization. That you're going to persuade the other person. The idea is not to get people to agree with you or to change their mind based on what you've said. People change their own minds. And what we want to do is give them the best possible chance to understand our point of view, so that they can change their own mind based on what they've heard. The other expectation to abandon is that they will use the skills that we're learning. Okay, their tone of voice may not comply with what I'm guiding you to do today. Their approach may not be as open-minded as the one that you'll leave here with. But the good news about it is that only one side of the conversation needs to employ these skills in order for it to be very satisfying engagement. Okay, so intro and why you came. So for a couple minutes, now we have two groups of three. So let's let you in the back be one group and you be another, because it'll just go a little faster if only three people are sharing in small groups. That'll be your small group. So we'll break into our small groups and just share with one another what brought you here. And then we'll come back after just 2 minutes. We'll come back and then share among the entire group. Okay, I'll keep the time. And I'll hear from a couple of people, what brought you here? So I heard this one, my wife brought me here. So I'm here because I was dragged, so.
That's not debatable. That is,
That's not debatable.
that's factual.
Great, factual, so then, if I may, and you can decline, of course, I'm curious, why did you agree to come?
To please my wife.
If it's as simple as that, then that's what it is.
Well, I was also curious what's going on here, whether it says about the Cubs and the White Sox or something.
Yeah.
Political, so. We're all listeners, but how good listeners are we?
Yeah.
It's easy to be a flippant listener. And I find if I take my time and listen in a quality way, at this level, on the chance of far solving the adversaries.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I agree with you, and I'm glad you're here, thank you. Anyone else, what brought you here?
Well, I'm very concerned at some of the movements that are taking such a strong hold that I feel that are so wrong,
Sure.
and it's really hard to hear. I mean, especially the Christian nationalism. I mean, it is just terrifying to me. And I don't know how I can listen to that with an open mind.
Okay,
I mean, I really don't.
fair enough. And it's very difficult, because especially when it's so emotionally fraught.
Yeah.
You hear something from someone and it's an opinion that is so out of sync with what you believe, and maybe even conjures images of danger or
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that, then it becomes very difficult to engage in that situation. So it's helpful to have a couple of tools that you can bring to bear. So I'm glad you're here. Okay, so first thing we want to clear up here is and recognize is that polarization happens in here as much as it does between us and other people. And as I touched on at the beginning, what we say within our group can contribute to polarization in really unhealthy and unconstructive ways. So I just want to draw your awareness to that with a couple of questions here. So it's multiple choice, often, sometimes, never. Consider these. How often do I assume that all those people, just whoever you have in your head about someone you do disagree with, all those people all think the same way about everything? How often? And yeah, just whatever your answer is. How How often do you assign good motives to your side and bad motives to the other side? How often do you focus on the most extreme views of those on the other side and kind of discard neutral? Maybe you miss entirely where you agree. How often do you compare their worst people to our best people? And how often do you get a rush out of criticisms of the other side? Someone who lands a really good singer. You know? These are things that contribute to polarization, totally innocently, by the way. We all do it. And it's just a part of the human nature and experience of engaging with people with whom we disagree. One last thing to take a look at really quickly for self-awareness is, here's a little chart of how I can experience the other side, whatever the other side is. And that could be Michigan, Ohio State. Where do we land on this? Just take a look, and nobody needs to answer publicly, just notice. Notice your own mind, how often, or where do you stand on this? Is this perspective of other people? Is it hate? They're enemies out to destroy the country. Disdain, they're ignorant but should know better. Pity, they're well-meaning but being duped. Basic respect, they make contributions even if they're mostly off base. Or respect and appreciation, they make unique and necessary contributions. Okay, so now with that in mind, we'll start thinking about some skills for disagreeing better. I love this slide here because it really illustrates kind of what's at play here. Which of these groups is wrong?
Neither.
And which is right? Neither. They're sharing perspectives.
Neither or.
We don't know what,
Very good point.
we don't know what they're disagreeing about, it's just. About what
They're
that is.
disagreeing what that is.
Depending where they're-
He says this is a 6, he says this is a 9. Yeah, that's what I love about this.
Guess it depends on who wrote it down.
Okay, great, but we don't know, so. Here we go, so this is what it is. They're sharing a perspective that they have on the situation, and they don't see it from the perspective of the other side.
And then it makes me think of the, saying walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
So if one of them went and stood where the other one is, they'd see that they were.
And that's a great opportunity for me to say, Braver Angels actually has a workshop or little engagement called Walk a Mile in My News.
Oh, interesting. In my
News.
news. Oh.
Because the news outlets have become just as polarized as the population.
Well, maybe causing.
And so it's possible for one to only have news that supports their opinion, whether or not there is anything out there that any direct evidence that would disagree with that opinion. So it's just the effect of the world we live in right now, is that we can only get news we like and already agree with. So it's kind of a fun offering. So skills for disagreeing better. Here's how it works. This is our offering. There's all kinds of ways to get along with people and there being good dialogue. This is one way that's really effective that we recommend. Listen, acknowledge, pivot, perspective, and we'll walk through each one of those things. It's an order of operations, just like in math. Get the order wrong, it will be a little harder to reach constructive dialogue. But in this order, in the way that I'll guide you to do it, it can be very, very satisfying to talk to someone who you disagree with. And enlightening. So first one is listen. The way we listen is important. Often when we're talking to someone we disagree with, the way I'm listening is, okay, where are the holes in their argument? What do I have to say that's going to refute them? That's completely off base, and I have to stop the conversation and correct that right now. And it can get really fraught and sticky, and we end up just going our separate ways. This way to listen is pointed towards the second part, which is acknowledge. What we want to do is completely turn off our inner debater. My job now is to understand what you are saying. learn what your position is, learn what your values and concerns are, so that I'm getting that information from you. In a way that you understand that I'm seeking it and that I'm grasping it. So what I want to do is be listening so that I can summarize it. Focus on the other person's viewpoint, and then this is really kind of fun, when you can find things you agree with, which when when I'm emotionally activated and listening to someone, I become deaf to things I agree with. All my attention is pointed on all the things I disagree with, and people can be saying all these things that I agree with, and I just gloss over them because I'm so concerned about the disagreement. But look for agreements and capture them if you can. It sounds great, but is it easy to listen to people you disagree with that way? What makes it so hard? We'll just have a general group discussion, right? What makes that so hard?
It's just hard to listen to, almost is blasphemy.
Yeah. When it just doesn't square with what you know to be true, it's, how do I just stay in this? Okay.
It's turning off that inner voice that's saying, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
And then I shut up.
One of the key things about that is that we want to be having our discussion from a shared sense of reality. So as soon as something doesn't square with my sense of reality, it's like, stop.
Yeah.
We gotta get this figured out. One way to do that is to stop and get them to agree with our sense of reality. Another way is to stop ourselves and try to find a shared sense of reality through what they're saying. What can I connect with in what I'm hearing? I recommend the second approach.
Hard.
It is very hard, very hard.
What about, can I ask a
Please,
question, please? What about the inner side of people in terms of background, education? Everything to do with the fact that if you have two people or more, and if the inner side of one is totally different, based upon cultural environment
Yes.
and the rest of it, how do you reconcile that as well?
Well, I do my best to understand their level, whatever it is they're talking about, what their experience is. If they have a certain education level, they've been exposed to certain things, I want to get in touch with what all of that is when I'm talking to them. And I want to have my conversation based on whatever that level is. So if I have more access to things than they do, I want to access only the things they have access to in my conversation. And if they have much more experience with things, I want to try to catch up to them as much as I can and maybe lean on them to educate me. But just, is that the other question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we'll do a little exercise here. So values and concerns are, I would say, are the keys to having a satisfying exchange with someone with whom I disagree. If I can access what is valuable to them and what they're concerned about, and understand that clearly, we have what we're talking about is that shared sense of reality. We're working with those things. So imagine you're having a conversation with someone and you learn the following about them. I'm going to give you two examples of what one person's values and concerns there are and what another person's are. And I just want you to think about, you're having a conversation with them and you're learning these things about them. Okay. Person A's core values: individual freedom and personal responsibility, free market capitalism as an engine of human progress is what this person values. This person values patriotism, enthusiastic love for country. This person's values social values of religion, family, and respect for tradition, local initiative, local charity, and is concerned about grouping people into identity categories that compromise their individuality, is concerned about government expansion, is concerned about skepticism about the ability of government to manage complex programs, is suspicious of utopian promises and cautions about social engineering as conflict and having many unintended consequences. And is concerned about being labeled with an ism or phobia when expressing its views on public policy. Person B has a different set of values and concerns. Concerned about, or is values of inclusiveness, and especially for those on the margins, diversity. Level playing field for people who have been denied opportunity. Values an active government to help those in need. And is looking for safe social environments, which include attention to language, and is concerned about abuses of free market capitalism. It's concerned about ignoring historical forces of injustice that are still present. It's concerned about patriotism that's not balanced with criticism. Groups that are left out of social progress and being labeled with terms such as woke or big government liberal when presenting. Okay. So how might learning about these and getting access to these values and concerns help the interaction? Take a couple minutes and discuss in your small groups. Okay. I'll keep the time. Take 5 minutes.
No, I don't know this guy.
Gosh, 5 minutes for sure.
Group that you were willing to share some highlights from your conversation.
Well, we were talking about our definition of something might be totally different.
Yeah.
And what is our definition of, we were talking about socialism.
Mhm.
Bruno, who has lived in France, which has a socialized medicine, and he has a totally different view because of his experience.
Yeah.
Than we might when we're just talking about it.
Beautiful. So if you talk to Bruno about socialism, you may learn something about the values and concerns related to
Or the
that
problem.
topic or the problems. And how would it be, if you were in that conversation with Bruno, how would it be helpful to understand his values and concerns?
Well, I would like to hear about his experience,
Yeah.
because it would be something I would know.
So you get to know a little bit more about them and you can let that apply to what you're talking about.
But I think there is, if I may,
Please.
in my humble opinion, there is something missing in your 2 slides that I approach within the group here.
Right.
And it seems to me that many words that you put them, and nothing is wrong or right, I'm just, okay.
Yeah.
Many words seems to be relating to a span life that is very short.
Mhm.
And there I say, I'm very surprised to see that if you look at the group today here,
Yes.
they are all teenagers, but me quite old.
I know.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
I cannot possibly say that. So I needed to find a way. So that's my first statement would be, it's interesting to see that, unless I'm mistaken, that young people, well, define young people, but that young people are not here.
They had to take their kids home though, too.
Okay, but still.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would say that, and that's referring to the wording you use, it's all about technology. Most of the world you walk, and that's technology that came into play in the last 20 years, and I'm probably less, but 20 years.
Mhm.
Before that, we had a set of issues, and we were able to solve them
Yes.
by being not what I believe where people are today. People, I use people in, okay, which is a kind of asocial thing. I discussed with TG not that long ago, and I was giving me an example. I go to a restaurant with my wife. I mean, it's staggering to see people, even 2 people, spend their time on a screen rather than speaking to each other at the restaurant.
Yes.
And I'm saying something is wrong. So I think that the technology has added an element that is not contributing always and mostly, in my opinion, with what we are trying to achieve. I stop there.
Thank you for that perspective. And what I heard you saying is that something is missing from our presentation because it doesn't take into account that reality that there's.
The technology,
that
yes.
There's technology.
I didn't say something is missing. I said, I think something is.
I see, okay. Thank you. I'm glad I checked then. Yeah,
But technology definitely divides us.
Or contributes to.
Contributes
Because it.
That's certainly my experience
I
too.
already agree with you.
Yes.
That's certainly my experience too.
So perhaps it could be, how do you disconnect
Yes,
It's very.
your screen from whatever you use?
certainly could be. So now let's take a look at this. That's your perspective.
Yes, it could be from.
And someone may have a different perspective.
Yes.
And if you're in conversation with someone who completely disagreed with everything you just said, how would it help to understand what their values and concerns are?
Yeah.
That's what the question on the table is. Who's got an answer for that? How would it help to understand that person's values and concerns?
To listen to them.
Yeah,
I'm always thinking about what I'm gonna say next. Oh, I don't agree with you. No, that's not right. This is the way I think. Instead of really listening and parroting back what you heard, which is kind of.
yeah. So listening for the values and concerns could be really informative.
Really listening.
Really, yeah, really, that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think sometimes the really base values and concerns could be the same or similar. We've just come about, how we get to the other thing in a
Yes.
different way, but that we share some of the same.
yep. And I overheard that in this group as well, that, oh, as I read that, I agree with some of these and I agree with some of those. Our polarized environment would have us say, everyone who's in this group has these values and these concerns, and everyone in this has these. But you can see it when you're reading, it's like, oh, that one I agree, that one not so much, this one on this side I agree with, and that not so much. We're shades of gray, but we have learned to attach ourselves to teams when it's more complicated than that. So I love that. Thank you very much. When I understand the values and concerns of the person I'm talking to, I may find there's a lot of overlap in our values and concerns. And we have a workshop that illuminates that tremendously well.
It also takes time to really.
It does.
Listen, and like my favorite moment last week, I had a woman in the group. We are kind of different, from different minds, and we stayed a whole half hour afterwards talking. It wasn't until the very end that we found some common ground on a certain issue. But it took time to get
Yep.
there. And we all are rushing. So it
Yeah.
seems like.
Yeah, and it does take time. I agree that it does. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a Booth, Chicago, MBA. And he and I were talking about this stuff, learning about what I do and very interested in this stuff that I guide people towards. And I got done talking, and I goes, this is amazing. It's so inefficient though. So I might, if I want to do this, I might have to just get over my need to be efficient. And I would say, yes, I think that is true. There's something a little more human about it, but it's not about getting there as quickly as possible. It's about getting there. Yeah.
How would you put all of this in the context of economic, business or economic, where there's something very.
My experience is that this is completely transferable, but it's about depolarization. It's not about convincing people. It's not about coming to agreement. Some other workshop might have great things about how do we convince the other person to do it exactly the way we want. That's a whole different workshop. This workshop is, we have different points of view and we can talk about them. And we can get clarity about what each of us really means, not what each of us thinks the other means, or is determined to believe the other one means, but actually what they mean, actually what their values and concerns are. So then we can really deal with them and with a shared reality.
I don't know, I don't want to take too much of the floor. I wanted to add a point to the gentleman who just spoke.
Okay.
Because I'm there too.
Yeah,
I'm actually exactly, that's, you just said the values and yeah,
yes,
I'm exactly there, so. Okay, so let me give you my own example about what you described, and you spoke about economy and so on, and I'm not getting into that, but I was a vet. You know, a military guy in the French Air Force. And one of the things is how to reconcile, to some extent, okay, I know it's a philosophical thing, but that part of my life, which lasted about 15 years, and the fact that I'm a Christian, and that could apply with everything else you are speaking about, the economic side and so on. And I would like just to add another, if I may, dimension to what we are speaking about. Depending on the cultural awareness where you come from, the French will love speaking to each other. We love to disagree.
Yeah.
That's why you see so many strikes. We are the number one. You know, people fight to be the number one in the world in sport and so on. We are the number one in strike. It's coming close to us. So there is perhaps another element, which is that it's a skill. And we seem in France to use it, you know, to abuse it rather than just to use it.
the question is, yeah, are we disagreeing in ways that are constructive and lead to
Exactly.
understanding and
Exactly.
collaboration? Or are we disagreeing in ways that separate us and
Yes.
accelerate that disagreement and
Yes.
that polarization? These are skills about moving towards greater collaboration, greater efficacy, and ability to come to some decisions that work for both of us while we disagree. Thank you.
Isn't that called active listening?
I would call it active listening.
As opposed to thinking about what you're gonna say next.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't agree with you, and let me tell you what I think.
So now, let me guide you to improve your skills at listening in this way. The advice is listen to acknowledge. That's the idea. Not listen to change, not listen to over strategize, not listen to defeat. Listen to acknowledge. There's a time later in the order of operations for my point of view to get across. We're getting there. What we're doing is preparing the ground for that. And this really helps prepare the ground. So as I'm listening to acknowledge, what I'm doing is as I listen, I'm getting ready to paraphrase. If something is not clear, I'm making a note that it's not clear, not that it's wrong. Maybe I do think it's wrong, but that's not the important point. I want to clarify what it is they actually believe, because if I'm mistaken about that, it just drives us apart. Agree when I can, and to pause to make sure I'm understood after I've done this. So this is what the mindset I'm in as I'm listening. Okay, so we're gonna do a little practice here. This is in your participant guide, but I invite you not to read along. Because it's a listening skill, okay? So I'll take you through these. Prompt A, I'm gonna give you two prompts, they're gonna be of different perspectives on the same topic. So just listen to it. What you're gonna do is choose the one that's furthest from your point of view, so we can practice. Choose the one that's furthest from your point of view, and then we're going to write an acknowledgement statement, as though we were in conversation, but we're gonna write it down. But just not yet, just listen, okay? So here's the first one. They're both on the same topic of policing. I think too many liberals are ignoring the problem of rising crime in this community.
Of what?
Rising crime in this community.
Can you repeat the first part again?
I think too many liberals are ignoring the problem of rising crime in this community. I mean, it's getting scary to live here. I hear too much defund the police and other anti-police rhetoric. I know there are some bad apples in law enforcement, but by and large, our officers are doing a good job. And it's demoralizing for them when civic leaders and regular citizens don't support them. I want our city to do the right thing by expanding the law enforcement presence. And I know officers can't solve every problem, but they're our first line of defense and they deserve our full support. That's the first one. There it is. And the second one. Conservatives seem to think that throwing more money into law enforcement is gonna solve the crime problem. Crime comes from poverty and discrimination. It has to be solved by addressing those problems. Communities of color in particular don't trust the police, and for good reason. Instead of increasing the police budget, I support funding for social workers who can respond to mental health 911 calls rather than armed police officers showing up. And we need to support community agencies that can get to the root causes of crime. Let's stop overemphasizing law enforcement and take a broader view of how to improve public safety. Okay. So, those, for reference now, those are in your participant guides. So let's give it a shot. This is not the time yet to share your perspective. It's just about acknowledging what you've heard this person say. The idea while you're doing it, the goal is that the person you're talking to, after you've acknowledged what you heard them say, would go, that's exactly what I mean. Thank you. You've captured exactly how it is for me. Okay? Take a couple of minutes. And the prompt is in there, so you can find it, so you can actually reference it if you need to. You know, to find little things to acknowledge. But if you imagine you're in conversation with this person and what you would say to acknowledge what you heard them say. Okay, couple of minutes.
For both.
For the one that's furthest from your perspective.
That's furthest from your.
Yeah,
Both.
because we're practicing disagreeing better. So I guess the one that you disagree with the most, and then written. Your, with your group mates.
That feels argumentative.
So, who would share their acknowledged statement? And don't worry about whether you think you got it right.
Elizabeth, you did, yours is great.
I can't, I just, acknowledge what I thought I heard. you
Okay,
say.
what'd you write?
Okay, I said, I heard you say that you are scared for your safety. You feel crime has increased and you feel we need more police guarding our streets. I heard you say that there may be some bad apples in the police force, but by and large, the police are doing good and trying to help keep us all safe. I hear that you want us all to fund the police more to help protect more people and keep more people safe.
Beautiful. Yeah. This is an acknowledgement of what I heard that person say. And if any of us are taking the perspective, just listening to that, just kind of living in what it would be like to be the person that she's talking to. How does that feel to hear it come back that way?
A correct statement.
Yeah. Personally, I
I
feel like you were listening.
You
Yeah,
understand, yeah,
You heard what I was saying.
yeah.
And I didn't hear you pulling me away from my point of view,
Mhm.
that you heard what I'm saying. My experience is when that happens, I now count you as a viable conversational partner.
You can trust.
We're in a conversation now. You're not trying to get me, you're listening to what I have to say, and maybe you're not gonna agree with it. And then maybe there's a part of me that's like, okay, when's the other shoe gonna fall? But I at least know that what I've said has gotten through to you. Does anyone have another one?
All right, mine.
Yeah.
I hear you say that rising crime in this community scares you. And that you think it's important to support and expand law enforcement to meet this problem. Did I get that right?
Thank you for
That's
the,
nice.
did I get that right?
Good.
Because that indicates that you wanna get it right. You don't wanna hear me in a way other than the way I wanna be heard. Because honestly, I've got no patience for that if I'm in a conversation. Why am I talking to someone who's just trying to distort what I'm saying or misunderstand me? There's no point. This person wants to understand. I can talk to her. Wonderful.
Let me just ask, do people in Congress have a course like this?
River Angels does work with legislators. Actually does. Yeah, they did a whole program with the New Hampshire state legislature. Where and I think the entire legislature was involved.
If they send them to me to get to
That's very
DC.
helpful.
Yeah, it's really cool. And they keep developing new programs all the time and working with legislators and local leaders is a focus for us. Anyone else? Okay, great. So those are some great acknowledged statements, and I think, are there any questions about that? Does anyone have a clarifying question they'd like to ask about it? Okay.
I really like that list. There was a list that you put up and it said acknowledge, clarify, that one, yes.
Yeah.
Paraphrase, clarify,
Yeah,
that's really helpful.
so one of the things that can happen is, yeah, I didn't quite understand what you meant when you said it. Would you be willing to clarify that? That's more evidence. Oh, this person is in it with me. We're having a conversation, an exchange of ideas.
That last one, pause to make sure you understood. I think it was better to just do it.
Yeah,
and
sure, yeah.
Actually asked
Sure.
to make sure you understood.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
I think it's to shut down that inner voice that's saying, no, that's not right.
Yeah. It's really just about trusting that there is an order of operations. That part of it, I disagree, and here's the way I see it, that just comes at the end. Listen, acknowledge, pivot, perspective. Perspective comes at the end, after we prepared the ground for that perspective to be heard. Before I do this, or before someone I'm speaking to does it with me, I don't trust that I'm in a real conversation. I'm guarded. I need to fight because I think I'm being fought with. But if the temperature's taken down by moves like acknowledging in this way, then it's like, okay, I've been heard. All of a sudden, I'm a little more open to hearing. Does that make sense?
This just all seems to come down to the golden rule, treat other people the way you want to be treated. If you're talking because you want someone to hear you. It says you don't want to be,
Yeah.
so much easier said than done.
It is much more easier said than done, but I can attest with practice, it becomes pretty easy. Just needs a little practice. And it's one of the things that makes it easy is that it's rewarded. When I talk to people I disagree with this way, it's a satisfying exchange more often than not. Which doesn't mean we agree at the end. It's just a more satisfying exchange. And so I'm encouraged to do it again. Okay. The next skill. So we've done the acknowledge. We've listened to what this person has to say. We've acknowledged back to them and been heard, gotten confirmation that we were hearing in the way they wanted to be heard. The next part is kind of crucial and mostly gets skipped in situations like this, but it's the pivot. This is, we've done work to prepare the ground to share our perspective. This is, have I successfully prepared the ground? I want to know, because if I haven't, again, there's no point in continuing from a depolarization standpoint. If I continue when my conversational partner is not ready to hear me, it can only do harm, really. It's not going to do much good. So I want to know. Ask you to share your viewpoint, wait for the go in it, essentially. So any number of phrases could accomplish this. So, for example, and I offer my thoughts on this. I read an article about what we're talking about. You want to hear about it? Because if you get no, but there's no point going forward. So take a moment just right now and just write down a couple of ideas of what pivot statement might be, and we'll just confirm. Okay, just a couple of minutes. Your best pivot statement ideas.
Does it need to have a transitionary sort of statement, like I read an article? May I share, or can it just be?
It doesn't have to be anything, so I'm curious what you came up with.
Fine. I wonder if you could just say, would you like to hear my thoughts on the subject?
Thank you. That's a beautiful pivot statement.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just say no.
A different perspective.
I have an answer to that. I have an answer to that question.
Would you like to have a different perspective? Would you like to have a different set of references?
Beautiful.
Here's another idea to consider.
Okay, here's another idea to consider.
Yeah, you have to actually ask.
I want to make sure that you're requesting from the other person if they're
Or
ready.
would you like to consider?
There we go, there we go, because you wanna be able to gauge.
Yeah.
Whether it's time or not.
I said, I hear you and I am trying to understand how you feel, but I have a different viewpoint. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah,
At least I showed us trying.
absolutely, it's wonderful. I would make one little tweak to it, I'd change the but to an and.
Oh, I didn't even have a but in there, but I said, I did it when I talked to you.
Oh, great,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Have a different, oh, no, I see, but I have a different viewpoint. I got it. So you, and I have.
and I have a different viewpoint.
Thank
So
you.
the but has a tendency to negate everything that you.
Yeah,
Alright,
thank you.
But,
But.
and I wanted to negate it. So I used a but. I want to negate all that
Thank you.
because it's helpful to just include it. Yes,
Had you thought about?
okay. Had you thought about?
Last.
It's a. Had you thought about
That
is an invitation to think about something. And I would say, not as powerful in being able to get the information that you're looking for in this particular situation. Certainly a wonderful thing to do in the conversation to offer a new perspective. Do you want to know if they're ready to hear a new perspective? Would you like to consider another perspective? No, I don't want one right now. You know, whatever the pivot is would allow for a yes or a no. So have you thought about isn't inviting them to accept or reject an invitation? See what I'm saying?
Oh, I think it's conclusive.
You think it's,
Because in the dialogue with a person, especially on a heated topic, you'll get the, oh, no, I'm not, or, oh, yes, I love God.
Mhm.
So I think it's an opportunity to continue the dialogue, but be less,
adversarial.
yeah.
yeah, I see that too. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I heard the question, what if they say no?
But it's, yeah, that's always the option.
And that's the idea of the pivot, that it's an honest request to continue this conversation towards my perspective. But it needs to be, in order for it to be an honest request, it has to allow for a no answer. So what do you do? Does anyone have any ideas what you do if you get a no answer? Like, who's got their
Change the subject.
their pivot statement or their pivot question? Offer it to me and I'll give you no.
Would you like to have a different perspective?
No, I'm not looking for a different perspective right now.
So I take it you are not Japanese.
What?
I take it you are not
I don't
Japanese.
understand.
Japanese will never say no.
Ah. Amazing.
Right.
In the culture, you see, that's
Yeah.
another, you see, that's what I'm getting at.
Beautiful.
Depending on the cultural thing and so on.
Yeah,
You never put in any negotiation
Yeah.
a Japanese citizen in a position when you will have to say no.
wonderful. So that could bring that understanding into the
A bit of a
conversation.
joke on the.
Yeah,
on the thing,
But
but-
so here's the thing. What would you do then, if you're in this conversation, you're disagreeing with this person, you've listened to what they had to say, you've acknowledged back to them in a satisfying way to them, and then you've asked, would you be willing to hear my perspective on this, or would you like another perspective, and you get no.
No.
Anyone have an idea what
Well, you
what
say,
you might do?
perhaps you would like to think about it and we can finish this conversation later,
Certainly could do that.
maybe.
We could say our history points us in such and such direction. Or
Yeah,
should
yeah.
we look at how our history points us in such a
You
direction?
could just move straight into your perspective, yeah, you could do that. If they said, no, I don't wanna hear your perspective, you could give it. Yeah,
I think that, at least for me, the problem is that my mind is saying something else.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear your perspective But
Okay,
I want you to know
so
mine.
in order to depolarize, which is what this is about. This is about disagreeing better, having more satisfying interactions and being able to have access to the people that we disagree with and have constructive conversations with them. What response could you give that would continue to be constructive in the conversation? I have the answer, I'll just give it, but I'm just.
Can you agree to disagree?
Hmm?
You know, that's kind of the old thing.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree, but we can still be friends, or we can disagree.
Certainly, yeah, that's sounds pretty constructive.
But that could, is that though? I mean, I was thinking that too, but I feel like that's kind of ending the
I
conversation.
know, it doesn't take us anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a stalemate.
And at some point, if someone's not willing to be in a dialogue, they're more of a diatribe or more of a lecture. At some point, you'll want to exit the conversation, you know,
But
you
what
can't
about,
do that forever.
what about if you take the conversation somewhere else?
Mhm.
To see if the person would actually, okay, that's a no.
Yeah.
On a specific thing, let me move it to something else to see if you are prepared to carry on speaking to me.
All of these are options. So I want to make this really clear. They're all options. You could take any of those routes. I have a recommendation. When you get the no, which will happen, they'll either say no or they'll just keep going. They'll ignore that you asked that they want to know. But you'll sense it. They're not open to your perspective. Go back to listen.
Yeah, but you still have to engage.
Just go back to listen.
To-
Active listening.
Yeah,
Well, what do you mean? You asked, say it again?
or say more.
Say more.
Go back to listen in whatever way that would be embodied. You know, in the course of your conversation.
In other words, don't argue, just always go to listening instead of arguing.
With the goal of depolarization.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it could
There's a time for arguing.
So it could be expand please on your no.
Tell me more.
Tell me more about your no.
Yeah, it's not time yet. So you know, tell me more about why you don't want to hear a new perspective.
Yeah.
I'm open. I'm listening.
That why immediately puts people on alert of that. Help me understand your viewpoint. I think when I don't want to see if somebody says why. Immediate on alert.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And what if you,
if the why is, if any of these tools and techniques are offered with dishonesty, for instance. Tell me why, and I don't want to know why, I just want to accuse you.
Yeah.
Then it's felt that way. People catch on. But if it's honest, people catch on to that too, in my experience. I really do want to know
Tone
why.
of voice.
You know, tell me more about that. Where's, you know, is it because it's not time? I can guess it's because it's not time to move on. Have you not felt heard enough? I'll get the information. If it's honest, I'll get the information and then I can listen more. So a lot of these techniques are about staying in it with someone I disagree with, rather than polarizing with them. Rather than forget it then and walking the other direction. Okay, tell me more about what you're saying. So you can listen again, you can acknowledge again. My recommendation for exiting the conversation, because at some point, if you know, this isn't going anywhere, this person does not want to hear from me. It would not serve depolarization for me to force my perspective down their throat. That would just mean I'm now someone they can't talk to. I'm another person with whom they're polarized. Or I can stay in it as a viable conversational partner. I can leave the conversation with the person saying, you know what? I don't think I agree with Mike. I think Mike's completely off base, but he listens. I could talk to that guy. He's one of the good ones, you know, or whatever. We can talk, we can come back together some future date and continue the conversation. I haven't disqualified myself. So the way out of the conversation, my recommendation is after the acknowledge statement. So I say, listen, acknowledge, and pivot, I get a no. I go back to listen, I acknowledge, I pivot, I get a no. I go back to listen, I acknowledge and exit the conversation.
3 times and you're out.
No, I recommend doing it unlimited amounts of time. I have family members that have employed that technique 50 cycles of listen, acknowledge, listen, acknowledge, listen, acknowledge, listen, acknowledge, before getting the go ahead after my pivot. But I earned it. Does that make sense?
And you kept your calm, cause that's how I can see, I may need to exit if I'm just getting
Yes.
worked up.
That's the first thing, the first expectation to abandon at the beginning, remember? That I'm going to change their mind.
Yeah.
And we may not even get to that pivot within a single conversation, right? Like it might be several conversations later, weeks or months or whatever.
Certainly, you don't have to hit the pivot. It's just when I really want to share my perspective. It pays to pivot first, so that I know whether it's gonna be constructive.
It's true, you can sometimes sense that there's no
Totally.
chance, hope for it.
Totally.
Was it during a lunch or a dinner or 50 times?
No, I was over
Months.
half a year.
Oh, no,
you know.
because I was going to say the food must have been.
What do you say when you exit? It's the conversation.
I literally just acknowledge.
That's how you feel,
And just.
and there's
There's no but, and there's no continuation on my part. I go,
Wait.
so this is how you feel about it, and that's the way you see it, and I got it right, I'm accurate about it, and they go, yeah.
And then drop.
What about,
And then,
Let it
what
go.
about this mac and cheese, it's so good.
what about doing what I just did a couple of times?
Certainly,
Making a joke?
Oh,
Because when people say no and so on, the temperature starts to, okay, so you carry on, but
Yeah.
make a joke. I mean,
yeah, these are one way to do things, and it's a very effective way. I would just say it's anything that's in the spirit of these ways, which these are all pointed to establishing yourself as a viable conversational partner and maintaining that status. So if in the course of your conversation, any technique that does that will serve. Okay, so now you've gotten a yes. Okay, fine, tell me what you think, or I'm interested, actually, tell me what you think. It's time for perspective then, but there are better and worse ways to offer your perspective. One way we don't recommend is to make grand pronouncements of the truth. This is the way it is. I have access to all the right facts and I know them and I'm going to bestow them upon you. That tends not to go over well with people.
Okay,
Rhett,
isn't that what you just did?
what I just did? To make the grand pronouncement that it doesn't tend to go over well with people?
They seem to go over well.
No,
I don't mean to throw that into it, but.
no, that's a very good point. Did you experience what I was saying as a grand pronouncement of truth?
Kind of.
Okay, and how was it for you? Were you on my side or were you guarded? Were you arguing with me in your mind?
Well, I'll follow your lead.
I hear that, but this is an honest question. Did you feel more likely to agree with me or less because of my grand pronouncement?
Even more.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I tend to feel less inclined to follow people who are making grand pronouncements. And so I recognized that I did. And that your response was a pushback on what I said. I want to point that out. Notice what happens. It's not the first time I've gotten that. And I love when that happens because it's a great illustration. See that? Someone makes a grand pronouncement, go, how is that not true? So, guide you not to do that. Couch things in your own perspective. So what I would say in that situation is, my experience doing conversations with people I disagree with and guiding people in workshops is that when I don't make grand pronouncements, people are more acceptable to what I'm saying. See the difference? Okay. So keep things rooted in I statements, name the sources of your views, because we all get our information from somewhere at some point. Sometimes the source is my own thinking.
or experience.
Or experience, exactly. Sometimes it's an article I read. Share a story if you can. It connects really well, and certainly if you can find some agreement. In your perspective statement, it goes a long way.
Page 7 has examples of all this.
Yeah. Thank you, page 7, has examples of all. So let's give it a shot. Okay? Using the same policing conversation that you're already in on paper. After you've had your pivot accepted. What might you respond? Think of your own perspective that you actually have on that issue. And how would you respond using these, this guidance about how to read or how to share your perspective? Okay? Take 2 minutes. And write it.
Like what you said, you know, like, I hear you.
This is how I see it. It's an I statement, and then to say it how you see it. I'm basing my view on this data. I come at this from this experience. I'm a child of immigrants and so on, so we'll tell that story. Those kinds of things. So no.
Yes.
Okay, who would like to share their perspective statement?
My mother is Italian. My father was Spanish. Born in France, spent 22 years in UK, 13 in US. I'm a migrant from the outset. How is it that the data has evolved in between what my grandparents and parents were living and today? And on top of that, I was an official elected in running a city in France. So I know about keeping the police at bay and doing their job along with the social workers and so on.
And what was your perspective on that?
And my perspective was, oh, you want me to, so that's what.
Yeah,
I-
no, it's time to actually share, and that's by the way, incredible introduction to your perspective.
Oh, okay. So I refer to I have to tell you to what I refer, then in terms of what.
Don't have to do anything, but then what you're invited to do is to share your perspective, and everything you just said contributes to that.
Okay, so.
That's absolutely what you're
Okay.
guided to do. Here's my story, this is what's going on,
Okay, so.
and if you don't wanna share your
No,
perspective.
I can, I have no problem in sharing my perspective.
Okay,
So, I'm actually, letting you know that by defending the police, by taking, your data on the crime situation, one, it might not be the only source you should look at. Second, the data might be right or wrong. Did you investigate that? Third, I speak from experience on many levels, as I just explained to you, including financing from a taxpayer perspective, based upon my election in the city of, so my approach would be different from yours. And I'm eager to listen to what you have to say as an answer to my experience. It's not just data.
okay, I have a little coaching, would you like a little coaching?
Of course, please.
Remove all of the statements you made.
So.
No, all the statements that you made
Yes,
that started with you.
yes,
Oh.
that's very good.
You wanna try it again? Cause it was really good, it's a really great example. I would just pull out all
Yes,
the
okay.
things, your data. What you do. what you
Okay.
did.
Opposition.
I just take all,
Yes.
only take them out, I wouldn't even change them, I just remove them.
Yes.
And you wanna do another one, just
Oh,
as an example.
try that. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes, please, yes.
So I think it'd be really instructive.
What about the I statements?
Because all the I statements, keep all of the I statements, remove all
about
the you.
his background
Yeah,
and his
because
experience.
you've heard from them. And now you're just sharing how it is for you.
Okay, so
I'm an immigrant, I came up.
I'm a migrant.
Yeah.
Are you?
Hmm?
I can ask, are you? No,
No,
no.
you're just gonna share your
So
perspective,
I'm a
and
migrant.
your perspective is only about you.
Okay, so I'm a migrant. My family have been also migrant. By opposition, I can add something or not while we are at it. I mean, I can complement it. Okay, by opposition to on one side Mussolini, on the other Franco. So that should say something.
Yeah.
At that time, crime was not linked to only the migrant. Crime was not so high, actually, to some extent, where I come from. And I have experience running a city. So I would disagree with your statement.
So here's the coaching.
Your
And
statement.
I
would disagree with the statement.
And I noticed that, and I experienced that,
Okay.
and continue.
And my experience and data is going along, is going against what I'm hearing.
My experience is this,
Okay.
rather than my experience is against this.
Okay.
My experience is this.
My experience is that it's not always good to defend the police. As an example.
Beautiful.
Okay. So I have a lot to do.
It's just one little quirk. If I'm not hearing about, if I'm talking to you and I'm hearing nothing about me, I'm only hearing about you when you're sharing your perspective. I have nothing to argue with. I have nothing to argue against, nothing to defend. I'm just taking in information about you and your experience. But when I hear your experience without having anything to guard against, my ears stay open. But as soon as I hear that my data differs from yours, if in your opinion, that mine's wrong, now I'm thinking of all the reasons why that's not true. And I'm out, I'm not really hearing you anymore. But as long as it's squarely in I statements. I'm just listening, I'm getting information. And I can go, it's not you that changes my mind. I now have that story. And that adds to my data set. And it has an effect. Maybe I don't change my mind, but I can now. Yes, okay. Does anyone have another one?
I have a question. So when I said I heard them, I actually didn't hear well the defund the police. And that's like a trigger for me. I get upset when I hear that because I don't think we should defund the police, but I also don't, I mean, that, I feel like that's like an extreme that people point to.
Okay.
And I don't know where that fits in with saying, actually, we don't all feel we should defund the police, we just need to. I don't know.
Well, the statement, I don't think we should defund the police.
Yeah, that would have been.
Is,
That would be.
rather
okay to say
than
that.
we can't defund the police, it's a different,
Yeah,
very different statement.
yeah.
And if you were to share any. Anything that brings you to that conclusion. I am afraid of what would happen in a society where the police isn't, fully funded or.
Okay,
Uh,
say, I don't feel like we need to defund the police, but just increase social services.
Yeah.
Or
and that's,
committing crime is out of desperation.
and that's about you and your perspective.
Yeah. So that would be the time to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, would you be willing to, yeah, well, I don't think this is what, I don't think we should defund the police.
Thanks.
What about we state? how would we feel if we were standing in their shoes? The
I
migrants, the downtrodden,
I don't find them as effective as, I statements. That would be my response.
You're challenging the other person to try and look at it.
to join, yeah, you know, if we were standing in.
If I disagree with you and you say we, then I feel like I'm being pulled along before, to someplace I don't consent to go.
Okay, but I was just asking you to join me in standing in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, and I may not want to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking about how it is for you, then I'm not being pressed to go anywhere I don't wanna go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And of course, all of these things. You can do them. It's like your organic conversations can go wherever you wanna take them. These are just recommendations built from a lot of research and a lot of experience that things tend to go more smoothly and more constructively when approached this way. Did you have another one?
Oh, sure.
I'm not making a speech, but I have to take the dog to the park groomer.
Okay,
We've been discussing this for 2 hours.
oh yeah,
And
that's right,
I lost the argument.
understood.
Okay.
Well, then let's just end now.
Okay.
And we can talk about it later if you want to. There is a survey that we really use this information, and so if I invite you to scan that QR code and give your honest opinion of today's workshop.
I'm not good at doing that. I don't know how to do that. Are we thinking, we know, in 2 more weeks of this or not?
I'm glad you brought that up. Is it,
Yeah.
if I interject something?
Oh, it's-
So in addition to this evaluation form, there's another evaluation form that we use for all the adult formation classes. Please fill this out because this gives me a better sense going forward about what worked well, what could work better as we continue to schedule future adult formations. In terms of the following weeks, as you might know from last spring when we did this series, the next 2 weeks are more of a conversation with people from both ends, people who tend to personally identify as liberal and personally identify as conservative. Those 2 sessions only work if we have at least 4 people sign up from each one of those sides. If you self-identify as either one of those sides and you're willing to speak at next session and the session after, or the session after, please let me know. I'm gonna make some more calls this week, hoping to get some more people to sign up. But we do need people who are willing to speak kind of publicly about their own perspective. Those 2 sessions will not be recorded, so you're not gonna like go viral or something. Right?
The people have to watch these first.
We have to do a lot of homework though.
No, you've already done it, right? So like the other, anybody who participates in those 2 sessions will have been exposed to the same information that you guys have just been part of last week and this week.
I'm bummed that some of the, like, the only person I talked to that seemed to have a little different point of view, that she's not back, you know, like, I think it is a little hard to put yourself out there. In
But
your
remember,
church.
it's also not a debate though, too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Right.
about, oh, I'm a conservative and this is why you liberals are wrong, or vice versa.
That's right.
It's, this is my life, this is
I'm
my.
wondering why, I'd be curious to know why she's not back today, you know, like, I don't know if that's something you can talk about.
I don't hear.
Talk about that, but yeah, I know.
But yes, so if anybody here is willing to participate in that, please let us know. Because if we don't get enough participants, we'll have to pivot using the language.
Yeah, based on the numbers today, it's kind of encouraging, is it? This is less than half that we had last week. Anyway.
Do you have anything else?
No, just to thank you for being interested in this topic and for coming. Yeah, and just think about how you would use this in your everyday life and.
Thank you.
I just find it so.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just find it so hard to keep calm. I just find I get
Yeah.
upset, you know?
Yeah, you know,